Can you introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Eduardo Pereira Mais. I'm 29 years old and I'm an environmental engineer from Brazil. My partner and I first came to Australia a couple years ago. We were looking for a better life quality and more work opportunities. We were feeling a little bit stranded back in Brazil. We didn't see much room to grow in our respective fields. And Australia came up as a good option. I had a friend who came a couple years before we did, and he mentioned how great Australia was for people, especially in the environmental field. So we first came to Australia and we came straight to Tassie because Tassie has actually lots of opportunities for people in the environmental field. Uh, I think more than 50% of the state's a big conservation area. So yeah, it looked like a very good option for me, being an environmental engineer, and for my partner as well. She's a marine biologist. And yeah, we've been here for a couple of years already.
What was your first job?
Believe it or not, my first job here in Australia was already in my field. I got a job as an environmental engineer with the environmental consultancy that I'm currently working with, which was pretty lucky, but it wasn't really my plan. So when I first came to Australia, I was ready to work with pretty much anything I could get. Uh, when I started looking for jobs, I started looking in the hospitality industry or any other base industry. But the thing is, I was doing a course at TAFE, and my study hours were always changing. I would get a different schedule every term, and that made it really hard for me to get shifts with the hospitality industry. Because I had a really good background in environmental consultancy back from Brazil, I knew how that industry works, and it's pretty much based on deadlines. So it doesn't really matter what hours you work or if you change your hours every week. As long as you meet the deadline, you should be fine. So there was a determinant factor in me focusing my search to something specific in my field. So I applied for lots of jobs in my field, and it happened that I got to this company, which was looking for an environmental engineer, and the timing was really good, and it just happened.
What did you like and dislike about this job?
I think one thing that I really like about this job is because I I'm now working with something new for me. It is an environmental consultancy, but instead of environmental licensing that I did back in Brazil, I'm working with a more technical stuff, which is contaminated site assessments. And so I'm getting the opportunity to learn a lot and improve lots of skills. And what I dislike about it, well, I think in the beginning I was more working more with field work mostly and very little office work and reporting. And I really had to to show my worth and progress within the company, so I could like show my boss that I was good enough to start writing the reports and issuing like reports to the clients, dealing with clients and things like that. So what I disliked about the job at first was having to like overcome this barrier, which was like showing my bosses that they could trust me and I was as good a professional as anybody really.
What was the biggest challenge and how did you deal with it?
Definitely the biggest challenge was proving that an engineer from Brazil can be as good as an engineer from anywhere else in the world. As I mentioned, I think the impression uh, Australia has from third world countries especially is not very good, and they don't know if they can trust the qualification of a professional from Brazil. And we know how much we're worth. We know that we are good professionals, but it's really up to us to go there and prove them what we already know. So it's a daily job, really, going there and showing how good a professional you are. And of course, the English doesn't really help. You talk slower than you would in your mother tongue. Sometimes you're not as confident talking as you would be in your mother tongue as well. Writing reports for me was a bit more natural because I did that a lot back in Brazil. But when you do it in English, it's always different. You get the spelling, and I really struggled with the spelling at the beginning. But yeah, you start building up confidence, and you get to a point where the English is not really the problem. The problem is really like the challenge is really going there every day and showing that you are good enough to take on more responsibility in the company, and you can do uh, whatever an Australian professional can do, you know. But that's really up to you, like going there and showing them how good you are.
How did you find out about it?
I started looking as pretty much everyone else. I went to Seek.com, Indeed.com, LinkedIn, and kept an eye for any opportunities that would pop out for my region. Uh, but I think because I had given up on looking for things in the hospitality industry, I was a bit more focused on finding something in my field. So what I did, I opened Google Maps and I typed in everything I could remember or think of about the environmental field, and started taking notes on the companies, addresses, email addresses, contact numbers, everything I could find. I made a big list with pretty much every environmental company or environmental related company in Hobart, and I started looking into the companies if they had any positions opening, and even if they don't, I would still bother the guys, send an email introducing myself, sending my resume, offering my services. And eventually I got to this company, and it happened that they were hiring, and I found them and checked the LinkedIn page. There was an ad for environmental engineer, so I put on the best application I could for that position, and they called me back and scheduled an interview for the week after, and that was the worst week of my life, waiting for that interview to come. But yeah, that's how I found the opportunity.
How did you apply?
I think I applied through email, so I checked the advertise, checked the criteria they asked for, put on the best application I could, and sent through email. And then I got the call back scheduling the interview. So it was pretty straightforward. But my application still had my resume, a decent cover letter, and a statement addressing the selection criteria.
How did you convince them you had the skill to do the job?
I think to convince them that I had the skills, the first step was to put on a good resume, a resume where you show your experiences and like show how important they were. And once you get to the interview, in my opinion, it gets easier because you can express yourself and like show confidence that you're a good professional. I had an interview with my boss, which is the principal environmental engineer of the company, and we spoke a lot about old projects that I was involved back in Brazil, and I tried to show like to be confident in my answers and uh, pretty much pass on the idea that I was a qualified professional with enough experience and that could deal with anything really. But yeah, I think confidence is really the key point. You know, you have your resume to present them with the experiences you have. I think having a good background is really helpful, but it really comes down to how confident you are in the interview and in showing them that you are a qualified professional.
What did you learn about yourself doing this job?
One thing I learned about myself is how resilient I am. I think that's regardless of the job you get, it's one thing we all realize when we move to a different country. I say that because back in Brazil, I had like a good management position where I was ahead of some projects and yeah, and then coming here and starting in a new company, pretty much the lowest job you can get in that company and doing the lowest activities in that position. It is kind of a bummer for you coming from a higher position back in your country, but then you see how resilient you are, how open to new experiences you are, and that you can go through pretty much anything and start fresh and progress all over again, make your way to the top again. I think that's quite an ability I didn't know I had. Every time I thought back in Brazil of changing fields or changing companies, that was something that always bothered me, like having to start again. And when you come here and you have to do that because there's no other choice, you see that resilience in you, and you like, it's really good, really nice thing to see. And I think we all go through that coming to a different country, regardless of the job you get. That's something we all realize.
What tip would you give to the job seekers from areas or other background eager to get their first job in Tasmania?
I think the biggest tip I can give is don't give up, keep looking, something is gonna pop up, and especially be confident. Always be confident in the professional you are. Like I said, it's always good to use that resilience when you go to a different country and you're ready to start from the bottom again and make your way to the top. But you have to make this way. You have to be confident in the professional you are. You can't settle down for something that is less than you deserve. If you know you're a good professional, be confident in that. Pass on this confidence, and you're gonna make your way up. That's for sure. Don't let you down. Like, don't let yourself down, or settle down for something that is less than you can get, because it's really the same thing that you used to do in your own country. It's just a different language, nothing more. So if you were a good professional back home, you're going to be a good professional here. Just be confident in yourself.
Thank you.